The Dogme 95 movement, founded by Lars von Trier and Thomas Vinterberg in Denmark in 1995, proposed a set of 10 rules conducive to more authentic filmmaking. Hjort Meta describes the movement as a small nation's response to globalization, in the face of the high-tech perfectionism that journalist Karen Durbin argues has come to define filmmaking everywhere. The Dogme filmmakers employed DV cameras and their inherently uncinematic nature to create a unique aesthetic, one that feels simultaneously familiar and alien, real and constructed, and cinematic and uncinematic. The DV aesthetic can be seen as a protest against and a refutation of the high-tech perfectionism of Hollywood filmmaking. To illustrate this, I will examine the first and arguably the best Dogme film, Thomas Vinterberg's Festen. But first, some context. DV is a tape format for storing digital video that launched in 1995. DV tapes were a significant step up in quality and down in price and size, and were used for things like home videos, documentaries, and TV production. The aesthetic of the Dogme 95 films is informed more by these forms than by cinema. Festen takes place at a wealthy man's 60th birthday party, where his son announces to the guests that his father sexually abused him as a child. Cinematographer Anthony Dodmantle follows the actors using an array of documentary and home video techniques, including lingering close-ups, zooms reminiscent of home videos, and other forms of observational cinematography. His adoption of the home video style was vital in presenting the events of the film as believable. It resonates deeply with the narrative, serving to reinforce the theme of dark family secrets and to frame the viewer as a voyeur on such a private and delicate matter. Additionally, the DV aesthetic is unsettling to the viewer as it constructs a representation of reality that is simultaneously familiar and unfamiliar. Audiences would have been familiar with the look and the texture of DV footage from their own home videos and amateur productions. However, the appearance of this style in cinema, where the dominant aesthetic is that of high-tech perfectionism, elegance, and style, evokes a feeling of the uncanny. In this sense, the unconventional and uncinematic nature of the cinematography allows the film to be viewed through a different lens. It manages to bypass the film-audience divide created by artifice and convention in cinema, and to make the audience more susceptible to being affected emotionally. That's not to say that there is nothing artificial about Festen. In fact, Michael Koreski notes that the film is a melodrama, which he argues is an anti-realist mode, and which breaks the 8th rule of the manifesto: genre movies are not acceptable. However, he suggests that this isn't as incongruous with a movement dedicated to authenticity as it first seems, as Festen foregrounds its own artificiality, much like a melodrama. Indeed, Vinterberg and Dodmantle acknowledge and constantly remind the viewer of the constructed nature of the film. Dodmantle exploits the compact size of the Sony PC7 to experiment with several cinematic flourishes. The boom pole is often visible, and Thomas Bo Larsen even walks into the camera at one point. In fact, the entire cinematography style is highly subjective. Koreski notes that the film's ostensible naturalism evokes its constructedness, and the foregrounding of this constructedness can be viewed as a criticism of Hollywood filmmaking. Since Festen does not try to hide its constructed nature, the viewer feels as if there are no tricks at play, unlike the illusion of the Hollywood film. In this sense, I'd argue that Koreski's assertion also works in reverse. Festen's awareness and display of its own artifice through the DV cinematography actually creates a more naturalistic and immersive experience for the viewer. To conclude, the use of DV technology and its uncinematic, lo-fi aesthetic in Festen and other Dogme 95 films offered an alternative to the high-tech perfectionism that has dominated world cinema in recent years. In embracing a consumer camera for cinema, they are able to transgress the divide of comfort and familiarity established by cinematic conventions and the high-tech aesthetic. Whilst not all of the Dogme films hold as much artistic value as Festen, the Dogme aesthetic is a testament to the importance of pushing the boundaries of the medium and questioning what is and isn't cinema.